Let's get right into it. The sunk cost fallacy. You went to law school. 3 years, 6 figures of debt. You passed the bar, landed a decent firm, and you hate every second of it. The work is soul-grinding. The culture is toxic. You dread Mondays like they're a funeral. But every time you think of leaving, the same thought traps you. I worked too hard to give this up. That's the sunk cost fallacy. You're confusing effort with obligation. Because you paid a steep price to be here, you assume the only way to honor that cost is to stay. But the cost is already paid. Staying miserable doesn't get you a refund. It just adds interest. This fallacy turns high achievers into high-functioning prisoners. You think quitting would make it all a waste. But what's actually wasteful? Sacrificing your future to justify a decision you made 5 years ago with a totally different version of yourself. You're not walking away from value. You're walking toward alignment, toward sanity, toward a life that fits the current version of you. And no, you're not throwing it away. You're using what you learned to stop sinking deeper. Confirmation bias, the echo chamber of doom. Imagine this. You believe something, anything. Let's say you think coffee is good for you, so you type "is coffee healthy" into a search engine. First result, coffee linked to lower risk of depression. Boom. You feel smart, informed, validated. Now pause. Did you search for the truth or for confirmation? Welcome to confirmation bias, your brain's favorite self-reinforcing trick. Instead of asking what's accurate, you ask, what makes me feel right? And then you subconsciously cherry-pick data, experts, opinions, anything that agrees with you. Anything that doesn't, you downplay, ignore, or declare invalid. It's not just coffee. It's politics, religion, conspiracy theories, dietary choices, which sports team is superior. You think you're being logical, but you're actually running an emotional software script that says, never admit you might be wrong. This is how we build echo chambers. Tiny worlds made of identical thoughts bouncing off the walls. And the more you hear the same opinion repeated, the more true it feels. But repetition isn't proof. Consensus isn't accuracy. If you want clarity, do something radical. Actively seek out opposing views. Ask yourself how you'd know if you were wrong. Truth isn't comfortable. That's how you know it's real. Learned helplessness. Picture a dog in a cage. Every time it tries to escape, it gets shocked. Eventually, it just lies down. No more trying. Even if the door swings open, the dog stays put. That's learned helplessness. Now imagine you. You fail at something. Once, twice, maybe 3 times. Rejected job applications, awkward first dates, goals that flop. At some point, you stop trying. Not because you can't succeed, but because failure taught you to stop believing in the possibility. You tell yourself, I'm just not good at this. You confuse temporary pain with permanent truth. Learned helplessness doesn't mean you are powerless. It means you feel powerless. And those feelings become bars in a cage that doesn't even exist anymore. The worst part? You might not even notice you've given up. You just start living smaller. But there's a way out. It starts with testing the lock. Do the thing one more time. Apply again. Say what you meant to say. Try badly and try loud. Fail forward. Because once you realize the shocks have stopped, you stop being the dog. And you start being the person who leaves the cage and never looks back. And yes, the door was open the whole time. The gambler's fallacy. You're at the roulette table. The ball's landed on red 5 times in a row. People are buzzing. Black has to be next. They whisper like it's prophecy. You bet big. You're not even thinking. You just feel it. And then red again. That's the gambler's fallacy. It's your brain assigning memory to randomness. We think the universe keeps a scoreboard, that it's secretly balancing the scales. It isn't. Every spin is its own independent chaos. Past results don't predict future outcomes, especially in random systems. But this fallacy goes beyond casinos. You think you're due for a good relationship because your last 3 were train wrecks. You believe this job interview will go better because the last one didn't. You think life owes you symmetry. It doesn't. The universe isn't a slot machine with a guilt complex. It doesn't reward perseverance with fairness. It doesn't track your streaks. And clinging to the idea that it does, that's how you keep gambling time, energy, hope on patterns that don't exist. You're not cursed. You're not lucky. You're just misreading chaos as narrative. The odds don't care how badly you want it. The flip doesn't remember the last one, and neither should you. Negativity bias. 10 people say your idea was great. 1 person calls it meh. Guess which comment keeps you up at 2 a.m.? That's negativity bias. Your brain is a threat detection machine from prehistoric times where noticing danger was literally survival. Back then, ignoring one rustle in the bushes could get you eaten. Fast forward to now, and your brain's still doing it. Only now, the tigers are tweets. You're wired to give more attention, emotion, and memory to negative events. 1 bad review hits harder than 10 good ones. 1 awkward moment at the party makes you forget the fun. You remember rejection way longer than praise, and it's not your fault. It's biology. But if you don't know it's happening, it starts controlling your entire mood. You live like everything's falling apart, even if 90% of your life is actually fine. It also warps your perception of people. You zero in on flaws. You expect disappointment. You scan your inbox for conflict. And pretty soon, your whole world is just filtered through caution tape. The only antidote? Actively notice the good. Count it. Name it. Write it down. It won't come naturally, but That's the point. You're not being realistic. You're being hijacked by an ancient alarm system that forgot how to turn off. The halo effect. You meet someone new. They're charismatic, great smile, amazing taste in playlists, and before you even realize it, they're perfect, funny, insightful, emotionally mature. Basically a walking TED Talk, except they're not. Welcome to the halo effect. When your brain takes one positive trait, attractiveness, charm, intelligence, and uses it as a shortcut to assume all the other traits are just as glowing. That's how we end up trusting people who shouldn't be trusted. That's how bad ideas become gospel when delivered by someone in a nice suit. That's how con artists and cult leaders work. They start with one beam of light, and your brain fills in the rest. You don't judge people by who they are. You judge them by the glow you want them to have. And this doesn't just apply to people. Companies, politicians, brands. You see one clean logo or clever ad and assume competence, ethics, and value. But shiny isn't the same as good. The halo effect isn't about gullibility. It's about speed. Your brain loves shortcuts, but shortcuts often skip the truth. Slow down. Ask more questions. Don't let one bright spot blind you to everything else. Hyperbolic discounting. You promise yourself you'll go to bed early. Eat better. Start that novel. But then it's midnight. There's ice cream in the freezer, and Netflix says one more episode, and somehow you say yes. Again, that's hyperbolic discounting. Your brain's tendency to prioritize instant gratification over future rewards, even when the future reward is clearly better. In theory, $120 next month is better than $100 today. But your brain sees now as real and later as foggy. Future you is abstract. Present you is hungry and tired. So present you wins. Again and again and again. That's why we stay up too late, save too little, scroll too long, and skip the gym. Not because we're lazy, but because our brain discounts the value of long-term gains dramatically, especially when the reward isn't immediate. You think you're just bad at discipline. You're not. You're wired for short-term survival, not long-term planning. Future you might as well be a stranger. But here's the twist. You can trick the system. Make the future feel closer. Visualize rewards. Use timers. Set traps. Tie pleasure to progress. Because willpower alone won't win. You need to build a bridge from now to later. Otherwise, you'll keep trading gold for gum. And finally, number 1, cognitive dissonance. You call yourself a good person. You also just ghosted someone who trusted you. And now, somewhere between your ribcage and your pride, there's an itch you can't scratch. That's cognitive dissonance. It's the mental tension that sparks when your actions and your identity don't match. Your brain hates contradiction, so it rushes to resolve the discomfort. Not by changing your behavior, but by rewriting your story. You tell yourself, they were too clingy anyway, or I'm just bad at texting. You morph from ghoster to justified escape artist in record time. And just like that, the dissonance quiets. For now. But it's not just relationships. You believe in honesty, but you lie at work. You see yourself as rational, but you rage buy crypto because your friend did. You think you're above gossip, then you forward the screenshot. Dissonance everywhere. The truth? Everyone does this. What matters is whether you notice, whether you stop and ask, do my actions reflect who I actually want to be? Or am I just storytelling my way into comfort? You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be awake, especially when your brain is busy rewriting the plot. If you found this video helpful, a like and subscribe is always appreciated. Also comment if you want a part 2.